Starship Road Roper up for another day of broadcast insolence, and insolent we shall be. A lot of things going on here on the planet Earth that need to be discussed. Obviously, we'll keep you up to date on any information about Gary McCarthy, Chicago Police Superintendent, who, as you're hearing in Ryan's news, has been hospitalized after successful angioplasty. Apparently, he went in for an angiogram, and they found something, and they're fixing it. It's amazing what they can do. I mean, it's like within a day, you're good to go. And you're feeling better.
Yeah, and people always say this, Ro, when something like this happens. But I just saw him last night, and he was, sending best wishes to you because I did a charity event with him for foster children at the Pritzker Pavilion in Millennium Park. And the last thing he said to me, and he looked great, and he was in great spirits, and we were having a wonderful time. It was a wonderful charity event. Your good friend Lisa Madigan said hello. Father Flager said hello. I spent most of the night saying, he knows you say hello. It's fine, But the last thing Gary said to me was, "Hey, I talked to you for 15 minutes now. I don't have to do the show with you and Ro for a while, right?" I said, Ro might be calling you.
Doesn't really work like that.
Seemed great.
Yeah. You never know. You never know in a situation like this. Sometimes they're just going in because they're testing, and then they find something, and that's what they, because it's getting to a certain age. But we wish him the best, and we understand that he's resting comfortably. And I'm sure the mayor's already called him to complain about something, so I'm sure that's good. All right. Back to the Bowe Bergdahl story for just a moment. I know that it's dominating the headlines, it's dominating talk radio, dominating cable television. But there apparently is more information is starting to come out about what it is that led to this trade. Right. A lot of people still very, very confused about it. Robert Baer is a former CIA officer, agent. And he is of course, you remember his book, See No Evil, was the basis for Syriana, the film that George Clooney did. And that's basically Bob, that Clooney is playing there. And you spent a lot of time in this region, Bob, and you've seen these kinds of things. I'm sure you've had experience with hostage situations there. What do you think has happened here?
Well, let me put it this way. This one's particularly messy, and messy in the sense that, if you look at everything we've been reading and the people in his unit, he just got up and wandered away and wandered into the arms of the Taliban. And they knew the Taliban was out there, which tells me, by definition, the guy was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever it specifically was, I don't know. I mean, he apparently had done it before. He had a compass and a bottle of water and said, "I'm going to walk to China." He was never going to make it to China, and his commander should have pulled him out and sent him back for a whack-a-back. But the point is, he did go out. He was captured, as was completely predictable. The question is, he's not a hero. But can we call him a deserter if he was crazy? That's not for me to answer the question.
Well,
let's go to the military. The military, you don't leave soldiers on the battlefield. It's the creed. It's the promise. It's when you go into the military, it's not because you get paid a lot. It's because you're serving your country and you expect to be, respected in that sense. You're not left on the battlefield in a far foreign place. So, I think the president knew the storm this was going to stir up by trading for a traitor or a deserter.
And so what would be the ostensible reason to make that kind of a high-value trade, which it appears to be, doesn't it? I mean...
Well, it's because the problem is we were going to let these Taliban guys go one way or another. They just were not involved in 9/11. They weren't involved in any other attack on Americans. Yeah, they were in a resistance group, and yes, the Haqqani network, the ones we've negotiated with, have killed American soldiers, but we've dealt with enemies in the past, North Korea, Vietnam, and I can go all through all of them. But to leave these guys in Guantanamo until they died of old age, they're not that important. These people are very primitive, very brutal. They're rural Pashtuns from the mountains up there with no sense of the United States or no sense of carrying on a world jihad. I mean, they're not our cup of tea. But on the other hand, I just don't see, and I've heard people say this in the administration, well, these guys are going to be released anyhow. They weren't going to go to trial. So why not take advantage to get this man back?
Mr. Baer, that's interesting, because we haven't heard that a lot, and I'm just wondering why the White House hasn't done a better job of getting that message out. Listen, these guys, first of all, are the equivalent of street thugs. They're not as high level as a lot of people think. And second of all, they're going to be let go anyway.
Well, I mean, what they've been doing is letting these guys, they don't have evidence, that killed Americans or blew up American stuff. They've been letting go very quietly. There's been a couple Saudis, there's been a couple Qataris. They say, hey, we don't have the evidence to take them to trial, either a military or civilian trial, and they send it back. We only know about these 5 because it was such a big splash around this. The problem was that Hillary Clinton was the last one, is when you take the Taliban, it was a resistance, an Afghan resistance, and classify them all as terrorists. She did this for political gain, a little bit of political gain. It boxes you in. It boxes the president in, which you don't want to be. You simply can't take wherever there's a conflict to call the people terrorists, and we'll never talk to them. I mean, look at the Vietnamese. They were throwing grenades and blowing up bicycles in Saigon. If we called them terrorists, we'd have never got all those prisoners back, including McCain. So you really have to be aware of that word terrorism.
Well, is there any? There was some talk that Bergdahl was going to be used as a human chit in the terrorist world over there. All these different networks, whether the Iconi Network, ISIS, any of these groups that are over there, that they would be that maybe he was trade bait amongst the enemy over there.
Well, that was exactly the problem. They were afraid that he was going to be traded to some really crazies who would then have a public execution. And in that case, that would be a whole other set of problems. There's no rights or wrongs in any of this. Like I said, it's messy. Look, if you're a soldier, you spent 3, 4, 5, 6 deployments in Afghanistan and Iraq, and you've lost your legs, and this guy who wanders off, gets all this attention, and then the president, is traded. You say, what did I go serve for? And they're absolutely right. I mean, there's a lot of emotions here. There's a lot of people that sacrificed their lives for Afghanistan and stayed on their base, but that still doesn't address the problem that, by my definition, the guy there's something the matter with him.
Okay, well, and I guess that's the issue, because there was reporting yesterday on a number of media sources that this guy had done this once before, that he had walked away once before, and that he came back, or they got him back. Now, why didn't they, and I'm going to use your term here because it's a wonderful term, whack-a-vac him then? Why didn't they get him out and send him to Landstuhl or wherever they go for medical, emotional evaluation?
They absolutely should. It was a mistake. I just did an interview. I just saw a guy here at CNN that was in Paktika, and he said that was a troubled unit. There was a lot of change of commanders. They new guys coming in. They didn't know who was serving in the ranks. I don't really know the details of it, but often it's difficult to send people out of whack-a-vac. And this guy fell between the cracks. But that doesn't mean we should leave him with the Taliban.
Yeah. All right. Robert Baer, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Always an honor to talk to you. See No Evil was his book, of course. It was the basis for Syriana, and a guy who's seen a lot of this in the world over his career. Absolutely. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
Thanks, sir.
All right. We'll come back. We'll get your phone calls at 591-8900. If people are looking for something to hold on to as an sensible reason for this, because they don't like the idea that the United States of America would just hand over 5 prisoners that are being described as high-ranking Taliban officials for a guy who had run off base. Does this make any sense for you? Come right back.